Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Astro Death Charts. Today, we will be looking at the death chart of Kurt Cobain, who died a violent death. Please take care, as this material is potentially triggering. Kurt Cobain's death sent shockwaves into Nirvana's fan base on April 8th, 1994. The coroner's report determined that he had died 4 days earlier on April 4th. The cause of death was declared a suicide, though much speculation remains whether there wasn't ill intent forced upon him and that his suicide was staged. Cultural figures leave their legacy on the public stage. Whether Cobain staged the setting of his death for others to find, or someone with a death intent for him stepped in, remains unclear. Both his natal and death chart feature a heavy Pisces signature, with both Saturn and Mercury together playing key roles. Saturn in Pisces carries an existential and spiritual weight. Life is the arena of Saturnian lessons, be them felt with spiritual supports or a lack thereof. Saturn lessons often begin in Pisces with falsehoods, disillusionments, and vampire vaporware. As the spiritual muscles, boundaries, and conscience are tested. Saturn also speaks of the reality doorway back to our origin, where the weight of Saturn no longer applies. This felt truth bears more reality than anything in the 3D world. Mercury and Pisces in Cobain's natal and death chart were inclined to fantasies, fears, and misinterpretations. Mercury is the ruling planet of his natal chart, presiding over his Virgo ascendant and Gemini midheaven. Mercury links together the Pisces stellium that runs through his 6th and 7th houses. Mercury, Chiron, Venus, and Saturn are fused as one flowing, flowering Piscean archetype, cresting waves of all-encompassing love, swells of longing that never end, maelstroms of chaos with the power to submerge a life into suffering, and the restorative, transformative waters of healing oneself and others. Cobain's spectrum of vocal expression contrasted sound, colors, textures, and emotional tones with his mirror of Mercury in the currents and storms of the deepest oceans, water. The element water, a symbol of the unconscious or not yet conscious, flowed and at times flooded his field of perception through his grand water trine that included 9 zodiacal bodies. The water element in astrology symbolizes feeling tones, deepest cellular memory, intuition, felt security and insecurity, imagination, psychic ability, the soul. Cobain's song, Come As You Are, chants the chorus, Memoria, repeatedly. His chorus line takes my thoughts to the Greek goddess Mnemosyne, who is the river goddess of remembering and the mother of the 9 muses. Mnemosyne's gift to all mortals was the pre-birth wash through her waters to receive their daemon, their guiding spirit and inner genius that would propel them on their life's purpose. After being washed in the river of remembering, each mortal was then dunked in the river of Lethe, also known as the River of Forgetting. Therefore, Mnemosyne's gifts remained unconscious for most mortals. That is, until they remembered them into their consciousness, piece by piece. Kurt Cobain remembered much of his daemon early in life, well before his first Saturn return. He served the collective and the greater good through his music. Cobain's gifts of tapping into the unconscious, his personal and the collective, reflects Mnemosyne's muses of music, love, poetry, and tragedy. And yes, tragedy is a muse for creation. Each muse plays their roles. The muse of music inspires their listeners with a layer of protection through the sound vibration, connecting the receivers of the muse to one another on a deeper level. The asteroid Memoria notably appears in mundane charts when the death of a prominent figure becomes a world event that shifts the mindset of the masses. The asteroid Memoria in Kurt Cobain's natal chart sat at 18 degrees Taurus in his ninth house of broadband communications, future dreams, faraway travels, justice, and the higher mind. Memoria made an exact sextile to his natal Mercury, his ruling planet at 18 degrees Pisces. Mercury, or Hermes, was the messenger god who had the exclusive permission to travel anywhere within the divine, human, and underworld realms. Adding to this is the fluidity of Pisces, the liminal time and space traveler, extremely prone to stretching beyond the 3D earthly world and taking up residence anywhere in the universe, all at the same time. My sense is that the voice in Cobain's song is calling from a point in the future, looking back at what has come to pass. The asteroid Memoria sextiled his natal moon at 13 Cancer in the 10th house of reputation, foreshadowing his rise to prominence along with his Jupiter in the 10th house as a significant cultural figure whose Memoria, or death, would tear an emotional and cultural hole in the fabric of the life woven around him. Memoria also trined his natal Pluto at 19 Virgo, conjunct Uranus at 23 Virgo in the 12th house of transcendence, secret enemies, and the unconscious. Whether the decision to end his life was his own or another's, the flowing energy from the 9th to the 12th house enabled the shocking Uranus use of power, Pluto, to run unhinged. Once the kite formation was activated, the shocking explosion through Cobain's Pisces stellium ripped through his public partnerships and his wheel of life. The ripple effect of his life and death lives on afterwards, in proportion to the meaning he created and continues to weave in the lives of others. The terrible muse of tragedy triggered a shattering loss and an overwhelming futility in the collective. Memoria in his death chart made a 1-degree orb conjunction to his sun. to the sun of the death chart, or the purpose of the event, at 15 degrees Aries. The impetuous event had been clicking into formation for over a week before the song began to sing back to itself. The last verse of the song, in Come As You Are, repeats the phrase, I don't have a gun. Cobain, with his natal Mars in Scorpio, had access to weapons. It was known that he had a friend purchase a gun for him shortly before the death event. The death chart reveals an exact conjunction between Mercury and Mars at 23 degrees Pisces, the space between his natal Mercury and Chiron. A great desire, Mars, to undo the pain, Chiron. Mercury-Mars in the death chart trined Pluto at 27 Scorpio, conjunct North Node at 24 Scorpio. Scorpio is willing to walk through the darkness to access the truth. North Node conjunct Pluto is hungry for something very deep, transformative, potentially haunting, and final to take place. A scorpionic transformation comes with a release. Mars, Pluto pulls the trigger. Mars cuts the whole into pieces, cuts away and divides, in this case, back into the vastness of Pisces. A plutonic release is not a surface event. It is catastrophic for those close to the epicenter and absolutely debilitating for those watching from the sidelines. Many of you remember when you received the message that he had died. He was 27 when he died. There's a reason why the 27 Club exists. It's related to the progressed lunar return that comes around at 27 years of age, when one's maturation has come to fully experience the spectrum of their own emotional, psychological, and spiritual landscape. Tested through the phases of the progressed moon, through each of the signs and applying aspects. The 27 Club is a crossroads when the initiate can sense the outer world changes that their Saturn return phase will demand of them. The 27th year is an inner awakening and a choice point at the threshold of adulthood. Cobain was born a Gen Xer with Pluto-Uranus in Virgo opposing Saturn, Chiron through the 6th and 12th houses. Sacrifice was a theme that would repeat throughout his life. With the Pluto-Uranus conjunction sitting on his ascendant, his mind was so sharp, technical, and penetrating. He likely felt as if he had X-ray vision, a gift when making music, though a heavy burden to live with given his level of sensitivity and the world he ran in. I want to focus on Venus in Taurus in his death chart as I close this reading. Venus at the time of his death was in the sign of the bull in warm floral pastures, wanting soothing, simple, and natural pleasures. It was reported that Cobain was recovering from exhaustion, recovering from the magnitude and intensity of Jupiter in Scorpio. He had reached a point of wanting to restructure his life and turn his music in a new direction. Venus in Taurus was squaring Neptune conjunct Uranus in Capricorn, applying pressure on the establishment and status quo. He saw the erosion of the alternative music scene as it reached the heights of the status quo. Jupiter, the planet I look towards in a death chart to read what type of journey they expanded into, where they found their freedom, Sagittarius, and felt their losses through the spiritual process of Pisces. Jupiter in Scorpio was holding on to the truth until the transformation was complete. In an unwavering square to the moon in Aquarius, the scorpionic commitment would shock his fans. Moon in Aquarius. Venus and Taurus wanted peace, quite simply. Jupiter, the benevolent guide on the journey through to yonder, opposing in Scorpio, asked, "How much do you want what you desire? How much do you want the ultimate truth, nirvana?" This concludes my Astro Death Chart reading for the life of Kurt Cobain. Thank you so much for listening, and please don't forget to like and subscribe.